The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. My name is Rita Kelleher, and I am the Chief of Academics at the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health and will be serving as the moderator for today's call. Thank you for joining us for today's ASPPH Presents webinar. This is Public Health Education, helping your students become part of it. This webinar is a collaborative partnership of the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health, ASPPH, the League for Innovation in the Community College, the League, and the Society for Public Health Education, SOPHE. This webinar is an activity for National Public Health Week. The webinar is being recorded and will be available on the ASPPH website in the archived webinar section soon. All registrants will receive an email with the link to the posted recording and the slides when they are available. The learning objectives for today's webinar are shown on this slide. 1, to describe currently available public health education options available at the bachelor's degree level and beyond, and to describe an innovation in community college partnerships with undergraduate education. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items of note. While you are in listen-only mode and your lines are muted, we encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation by using the chat or question box. We will address your questions at the end of the presentations, and this slide will be repeated at the end so that you can remember how to insert those questions. Now pleased to introduce our speakers for today's webinar. Dr. Cynthia Wilson is the Vice President for Learning and Chief Impact Officer of the League for Innovation in the Community College. Dr. Richard Riegelman is Professor and Founding Dean of the George Washington University Milken Institute School of Public Health. Ms. Elaine Auld serves as SOPHE's Chief Executive Officer. Dr. Laura Magana serves as the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health. Dr. Catherine Johnson is an Assistant Professor of Public Health Studies at Elon University in North Carolina. She chairs a national network of community colleges engaged in public health education. Ms. Amy Collins is a Professor of Public Health at Donna Ana Community College, where she teaches a wide range of health education courses and coordinates community partnerships for student services learning. And Ms. Becky Corin is an Associate Professor of Public Health and Department Chair of Humanities and Social Sciences at Donna Ana Community College. I am now pleased to turn the webinar over to our first speaker, Cynthia Wilson.
Thank you, Rita, and welcome everyone to the webinar. And I want to also thank you, Rita and ASPPH, for hosting the webinar. The League's involvement in community colleges and public health began in about 7 years ago with our Community Colleges and Public Health Initiative. And its purpose is to explore and promote public health education in community colleges. And you'll hear more about that in a little bit. Our current focus is on creating a community college culture of health. And as part of that effort, this year we were able to award small grants to 22 community colleges to fund activities to promote public health career awareness during this week, National Public Health Week. We plan to continue this grant opportunity in 2020, and information will be available on the League website about that grant opportunity for community colleges beginning this summer in July. And we'll be able to award up to 60 grants for next year's activities. There's a URL on the screen that indicates where you can go to get more information about that. I want also to take an opportunity to thank ASPPH and SOPHE for their contributions and support to the League's Community Colleges and Public Health Initiative. And now it's my pleasure to turn the program over to Dr. Richard Riegelman.
Thank you, Cynthia. The Community College and Public Health Initiative really began with with the community college and public health reports. And those were part of the Framing the Future efforts on the part of the ASPPH to really look at the second 100 years of public health education. And the Framing the Future, as you can see from this slide, had developed a whole series of reports. And the key theme for these reports was to connect the pieces, to develop public health education going from the community college to the bachelor's degree, to the master's degrees, to the doctoral degrees, so that there really was a continuum of public health education. And this report, and this is one of the copies of the report that is developed in a way that tried to bring together these pieces. And this report is on the ASPPH website. It's also on the League for Innovation in the Community College website. And some of the unique features, I think, of this report is it really brought together public health organizations to try to work together to think through how to connect the pieces and how to make community college a true part of public health education. And that included not only ASPPH and the League, but the Society for Public Health Education, SOPHE, as you will hear, and also the public health practice organizations, ASTHO and NACHO. And so that it really was a full public health effort to think through these issues. And some of the principles that came out of that deliberation were to reinforce the idea that there should be a continuum of public health education, and it should explicitly include community colleges. In doing that, there was an effort to outline associate degrees that were designed for transfer. And these included public health generalist degrees as well as health education, as you'll hear in a few minutes. It also included applied associate degrees, such as health navigation or community health worker, that would allow for direct entry into the job market. Finally, the report emphasized 3 health foundation courses, and these health foundation courses are becoming increasingly important vehicles for articulating, for transferring, not only from community colleges that have associate degrees, but these were recommended for a large number of community colleges that attempt to train health professionals, and so that they were designed not only for transfer to bachelor's degrees in public health, but also to a wide range of health professions, on clinical health professions. And these courses are personal health with a population perspective that can be part of a health and wellness type course, an overview of public health, as well as health communications. And so this attempt to try to put together this report is very much alive. And as you'll hear during this webinar, the pieces are beginning to fit together. And to start that, telling you more about that, I'm pleased to turn over to Elaine Auld.
Thank you, Dr. Riegelman, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks again to the ASPPH and to the League for their leadership in putting together the report and to thinking broadly about the opportunities we have at the community college level to excite people about public health. I'm going to speak this afternoon on one of the 5, which we called core areas of public health. I know that we've moved to a more cross-cutting core competency set, but health education and behavioral and social sciences and health promotion has traditionally been part of that core. And I'm going to just describe a little bit about our role in the League and ASPPH Features of Public Health report and some of the courses available to you as curricular outlines. I tried to move there we go. So just briefly, since many of you may be unfamiliar with SOPHE, we are a membership organization, people trained in working in health promotion and health education, with a mission to provide global leadership to the profession and to promote the health of society. We have about 4,000 members, both nationally and domestically and internationally, and they work across all settings, including, of course, faculty in community colleges, as well as 4-year and MPH and Doctor of Public Health programs, as well as federal, state, local health departments, K through 12, and health and medical care. Our programs primarily to my programs moving forward. our major programs relate to advancing the research and practice for the field, which we publish 3 professional journals, including one that I'll highlight at the end of this presentation. We've set professional preparation and workforce standards, the competencies for certified and health education specialists and those at the master level. We can conduct psychometric research with the National Commission for Health Education Credentialing. We do a lot of continuing education, scientific conferences such as the conference held last week in Salt Lake City, and a distance education, about 50 webinars per year to make sure our members are operating with up-to-date competencies. And then policy advocacy based here in Washington, D.C. We're active on the Hill with ASPPH and many other public health partners, as well as have some online courses available and do an annual advocacy summit. And for whatever reason, oh, there we go. Sorry about that. So we are very interested in this particular effort because we know that there are many opportunities to diversify the public health workforce. The Bureau of Labor Statistics actually predicts that health educators will be one of the fastest growing occupations, along with community health workers, over the next 10 years or so. There is a specific, if you go online to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you can find out more about occupational settings in which health educators are working and their average employment, remuneration, et cetera, where they're located throughout the country. But the Bureau is predicting, because of the Affordable Care Act that and the focus on prevention, that there'll be a bigger demand for jobs in health education as we go forward, and we're actually seeing this. And in addition, the Center for Medicaid Services has made many programs in related to health education, reimbursable services. So again, that's also a incentive for employers to consider hiring health educators. Sophie's been involved with over the long term in terms of the IOM and other major authorities on who will keep the public healthy, and their some of the predictions for the future or goals for the future. But we really hope to, in this effort, assist community colleges in providing more foundational courses in health education, helping them with articulation agreements, and then linking them for those that want to go on to 4-year programs to find an opportunity to have those credits transfer. We know about 50% of students, if not more, are starting their gen ed in community colleges. So, and very interested in helping to support this effort, and over the long term to really reflect the diversity of the public health workforce to better serve the populations that we know as the population is getting more diverse. So ASPPH and the League asked Sophie to be involved in developing a total of a three-course sequence for health education concentration, or 9 hours in credits in total. And one of those would be that introductory survey course that Dr. Riegelman referred to, sort of the core of what you should know about behavioral public health, behavioral sciences, and then two additional courses that would build on that introduction to health education. And collectively, these 3 courses would constitute the health education concentration of the public health degree. These are the curricular outlines that are available. All of these are based on the competencies for certified health education specialists as they were published in 2015. And our task force that actually developed this, which included faculty that are in the community college setting, indicated that they recommended that those teaching these kind of courses would have a master's degree in health education or be a certified health education specialist. And for one of the courses, accessing and analyzing health information, to draw on the library resource as an instructor. Our introduction to health education is designed to basically provide that basic definition, the major theories and the foundational principles of those working in the field, and what a health educator should be able to do. And it not only includes the knowledge component there of those basic foundational principles, but also has a curricular outline stressing the application of those in practice. The second course, Accessing and Analyzing Health Information, our task force felt this was very important given the plethora of internet sources today of information. I think WebMD might be one of the primary sources people seek out when they're trying to identify an illness or how to prevent an illness. So we felt that it was very important that those that are working at the AB level should be able to evaluate the quality of the health information that they find online, develop those skills to actually to locate and critically appraise the online information, and then also how to utilize measurements and access public health data and surveillance systems. What this course did, in addition to using the foundations of the certified health education competencies, we also crosswalked them with the health literacy competencies of the American Library Association to be sure that we were providing the best foundation for this kind of course. And then the third course really focused on advocacy and leadership. As requested by the League and ASPPH, it has a service learning component, so students actually identify an advocacy problem in their community, and our talk walks through developing those skills to change the policies or systems around that particular, to resolve that particular health problem. Again, it addresses all the CHES competencies, and in addition, students are encouraged to develop a personal leadership portfolio. So they start developing those leadership skills and how those can be applied at the next level for their growth and development. These courses show how, this slide shows how the courses align with what the public health generalist and also the specialization requirements that were discussed earlier. They're also linked back to a textbook that Sophie publishes, Health Promotion Programs. It includes a variety of additional supplemental materials, PowerPoints, etc., that would help one teach this in class. And then it's also the courses are aligned with the Health Navigator certificate if one would want to go in that direction. The Introduction to Health Education is a required course, and then an elective was Accessing and Analyzing Health Information. All of these, our curricular outlines in health education are published in this special journal theme issue of Pedagogy and Health Promotion in 2016. Dr. Riegelman and Cynthia Wilson co-edited this particular supplement. It includes original research by Kate Johnson, who's on the line today, as well as articles by 7 descriptive best practices, including several of our speakers who will be talking about their Donna Anna experience. So with that, it's my pleasure to turn the next segment of this over to Dr. Laura Magnana.
Thank you very much, Elaine. I'm very excited to participate in this webinar with our colleagues and partners in the continuum of public health education. I'm representing ASPPH, the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health. We are the voice of the academic public health, representing schools and programs accredited by the Council on Education for Public Health, which is CEF. We have in our association 116 members, which are the schools and programs accredited in the United States and also globally. We also host an undergraduate network of 108 members. So we're very happy to have this connection with the undergraduate public health and global health education. This network supports quality undergraduate public health and global health education. And we are really, really very excited at ASPPH because we actually begin by being an association that most of our schools and programs were at the graduate level. But what we have seen in the last 20 years is an amazing growth in undergraduate interest and a lot of undergraduate public health programs around the country and even around the world. So we're very excited because we are now what it began to be just concerned about the graduate degree programs, which our field is very interesting because it started there. Now, every time is becoming more important, the undergraduate education and even the associate degrees that are studied right now at the community colleges. And this is very exciting in our whole field because all of the partners who are present in this panel, in this webinar, we're going to be talking about the different parts in the continuum. So this is a field, the field of public health. It's a very dynamic field because right now what we're seeing is that with this growth in terms of the programs at the associate degrees and also bachelor's degree, as well as, of course, the master's and doctoral degree programs that exist, is that our profession has become now really, it has really expanded. And what it started to be just, a work on the health, under the health professions and in the community level. Now what we are seeing is that the expansion is actually in all the other sectors. So we are now working in education, in environment, in labor, in housing, in economy, of course, nationally and globally in emergency, in prevention, in promotion. So it's very exciting what is right now going on with our field of public health because it's just growing and expanding the field. So what we are seeing right now, it's a whole continuum. Some of the panelists you're going to be hearing and some of the people have already spoke about the different moments where you can actually enter to study at some point public health. So it is really a continuum which started as an associate degree, but even before that, which we're going to be hearing a presentation after me. But you can, start with an associate degree and then kind of go to the workforce, and then you can come back and you can study a bachelor's degree in public health, and then maybe go again to the workforce, and then you can come back to study a master's degree in public health. And you know that in both the master's degree and also in the doctoral degree, we have a lot of options there. We have the MPH, which is a professional degree program, but we have also a lot of options if the students, they like to the research area and really generating the evidence that we need for policy making. So we need and we have a lot of options in the Masters of Science and also the doctoral degree, as well as the DRPH, which is a professional degree program. So now what we started this profession, the public health profession, as being just as the one profession of the master's and doctoral. Now it's very exciting to see all this continuum and to see that students are not coming to the university just or to the colleges just one time and then just going to the workforce. They are actually coming back, and we need to really allow for individuals to really return to education at any time in their careers. Now, the next two slides, it's more like a provoking questions or talkings that I would love to have in a Q&A at the end with the faculty that actually is hearing this webinar, because I think that really our profession is changing. We have new roles for faculty and new learning scenarios. So we used to be just lecturers at our classrooms, but now we really need to be thinking about designing learning scenarios or tracing students' performance. We are more now like coaches with all these initiatives and also mentors instead of just being lecturer at the classroom. We need to interpret the performance dashboards and to use a lot more technology. We are more now assessing the readiness of our students. So all of these are just the new roles that all in the continuum, all the way from the community colleges to the doctoral degrees, we need to be thinking and having conversations about our new roles for faculty. The same is true for the diverse learning scenario. So we are not thinking that it's just the universities or the colleges where the people are going to come to learn. There's now a diverse ways to really learn. We have the digital badges, we have the stakeholder credentials, we have the micromasters, we have boot camps. So we really need to be open to valuing experiential learning wherever it occurs. And that's something that we all need to be thinking, all of us that are involved in this continuum of education. And also this last slide that I really like to be thinking that we all need to be thinking about how do we really pursue cross-cutting competencies all the way from the associate degree programs all the way until the PhD? Because our students are going to be needing more the cross-cutting competencies rather than the knowledge-based competencies, because in knowledge-based, we need to be aware that our current graduates will have an average of 11 employers. So they really need more cross-cutting competence to really navigate to all these different employers and different employees. So also, it's very important to know that 50% of the current jobs will disappear in the next decade. So that means that there's going to be a lot more new jobs that we don't even think about it right now. So we better start thinking about, in the whole continuum, how can we work, do a better job in trying to develop creative thinkers and critical thinkers, and all these cross-cutting competencies. Our students would need interprofessional skills, and they need to work more in teams, and they need to be technological savvy and uses more data. So they have to be really strong in human skills. So all those challenges and all these things are a continuum in all the in all the path of education. So very excited to be part of this conversation, and I'm happy to introduce Kate as our next speaker. So Kate.
Thank you very much. And we've heard a lot of great background already about all the changes and emerging opportunities in public health education across the full continuum. And I really wanted to take just one moment on the call here to come back specifically to the role of community colleges in public health education as a new player, an emerging player in this continuum. And so from a practice perspective, we've been working hard over the past 4 or 5 years to really learn from the colleges that are directly engaging in this work at the community college level. And as we've heard before, this includes 2-year degrees, either for transfer to bachelor granting institutions or for direct entry into the workforce. And it also includes certificate programs or even single courses or families of courses that may not be directly connected to a formal degree or certificate program. And so we're going to look at a specific example. You've heard Doña Ana being mentioned a number of times in just a moment here. But before we do that, I just wanted to provide an opportunity to identify a few ways that you can become involved in this movement. We have created a national network of community colleges that are doing this work. And as well as 4-year partnering institutions that have a direct vested interest in creating direct links between 2-year and 4-year degree models. And so in addition to going to the websites of the sponsors of today's webinar, ASPPH, SOFI, and the League, I wanted to highlight that I also welcome conversations with you. We're working really hard to network and to create a community of practice so that we can learn from each other's experience. So I encourage you to contact me directly. And also to join our LinkedIn group, which is a way to just kind of stay informed and connected with others who are engaged in this work. So there's the link right there if you're interested in that. And now I actually want to go ahead and pass on the microphone to 2 members of our national network, Amy Collins and Becky Corin, who will be talking to us more specifically as a case study of what this looks like in practice. So I'm happy to pass the phone on to them. Thank you, Amy and Becky.
Thank you so much, Kate and ASPPH, SOFI, and the League of Innovation for supporting us and engaging in these conversations. We really appreciate being able to share our experiences. I'm Becky Corin. I am a faculty member in the public health program here at Doña Ana Community College.
And I'm Amy Collins, a faculty member also within the program.
And just to give you a quick overview of our thinking about the things that have already been presented, in particular thinking about the public health workforce, I think we teach at a community college, and you'll hear a bit more about our partnership with New Mexico State University. But just in terms of diversifying the workforce, thinking about our community college, we are situated about 30 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. Our student population at the community college is about 75 to 80% students of color. Interestingly, at the university next door, the rate of students of color is between 50 and 60. And so even in thinking about diversifying the public health workforce, community colleges really do hold a key to that pathway. And so we're really lucky to be in a position to be able to facilitate that. So we're going to tell you a little bit about our programs, the way they've developed, the history, and the the types of things that our students experience. And we've punctuated our presentation with photos of our students who are doing their service learning projects within the community here. And we'll talk a little bit more about that throughout.
So this is another picture of one of our students out in the community. This was just from last semester, so I want to highlight that our students and the impact that they're making on the community. The mission of our program really is highlighting what you've already heard throughout this webinar. We focus on the first 4 responsibility areas of health education. And so the examples that you're seeing are the service learning component, where students are out in the community actually practicing it. The second part of our mission is to make sure that the students are prepared if they choose to transfer to the bachelor's program at the university, which is at New Mexico State University. Of course, they're not required to do that. They are prepared, and it's a seamless transfer, but they can also enter into the workforce.
So within our system, we do have a series of stackable credentials, starting with our newest program, the Community Health Worker Certificate, and we'll talk a bit about the history of that, but that's a 16-credit program. All of our programs, both at the community college and the university, are offered both in person and online. Our Community Health Worker Certificate is developed in partnership, and we really worked closely with a lot of the sort of resources that have been highlighted here to develop this. But also it includes a state endorsement for the state of New Mexico that students can achieve at the end. It includes service learning. An interesting aspect that we really thought was necessary was valuing, in particular, promotores de salud that serve in the border region, honoring the work that they've done already. So we have credit for prior learning. That is, if they have experience in the field and have been working as community health workers, they can actually get academic credit for that to expedite their sort of continuing education. And it's a stackable degree with the Associate of Public Health, which is the degree that we've had for a bit longer. 60 credits, very sort of traditional academic, includes general education, but it also has a bit of flexibility for students that might have other health careers. So we try to tap into that audience as well. And it's a traditional 2+2 as a result of an articulation agreement with the Bachelor of Public Health with New Mexico State University, which we're not going to highlight a lot here, but there are some details of that on the slide.
So just a bit of history within our program. As you can see, it's gone through a couple different phases. In its infancy, which was about 2005 to 2007, that's when we first developed the associate's degree, and at that time it was an applied science degree. We were able to hire the first full-time faculty, which was myself. Before that, the classes were taught by part-time faculty. And then at that time, we solidified an articulation agreement, and this was really the starting of what has helped us to clarify and really to polish up what we were going to have, as you can see, as we get to the present year.
And then subsequently, the program started to grow, much parallel to the previous slide that demonstrated the growth of undergraduate programs. Our program showed both that growth in terms of courses offered, but also more diverse community partnerships, larger numbers of students. We made sure that all of our programmatic courses were offered online, and the state of New Mexico simultaneously was passing community health worker legislation that prompted our wanting to institutionalize that.
So then as we moved forward based off of that information, we got to a point where we have pretty solid numbers with our enrollment that really helps us to give a template for how to plan, obviously, multiple semesters. The online courses have increased as well, and this is a response to a couple different things. One is obviously just the improvement of online development and offerings of the courses, but also meeting the students' needs. So we have students that are in outlying areas with many rural areas, but we also have students that have potentially moved from our program and want to keep up with it also. There's many different reasons for the online. And then as you can see, the last part is what we're highlighting is the development of our Community Health Worker Certificate program that also coincides with having a state endorsement from the state of New Mexico. So here's just a snapshot of the Community Health Worker Certificate. We are in our second semester, so we're in our infant stage, I guess you would say. As we said, it's stackable. It's 16 credit hours. We've already stated that it is approved by the state of New Mexico. So once our students graduate, they apply from the state of New Mexico to receive the official licensure. And then the key for us was making sure that all of the credits articulate directly into the associate's degree if students choose to go on, which of course we would like to encourage them to go on, to earn their associate's degree of public health. And there's a sample of some of the classes. And again, this really highlights what you've heard throughout this webinar. Everything is crosswalked with what the national standards are, and obviously within the state standards as well.
And similarly, we also took this through all of the university bureaucracy, which it's hard to say which bureaucracy takes a longer time to navigate, but we navigated both the state endorsement, but also through the university and Higher Learning Commission accreditation approval, and making sure that it's financial aid eligible and all of those components as well. So we have the Associate of Public Health, which we've had for a few years, and that we've recently undergone some revisions in our curriculum to make sure that it's 60 credit hours. It's also stackable and articulates to the Bachelor of Public Health at New Mexico State University. This is a really interesting and an important part, that we maintain our articulation agreement and continue to communicate with New Mexico State University. So some things are a little bit different in the community college setting. So ways we've sort of created incentives for students to transfer, things like if the student does their service learning at the community college, those hours count. They don't have to do as many hours when they go on to get their bachelor's degree. So we try to incentivize it as much as possible and to expedite students if they're going on that pathway to completing their bachelor's degree. Some items really quickly about our growth, and I included cost-related data here because we are lucky that the public health program, we're within a department, but across the campus, our program is among the cheapest. Not that necessarily should be anything that we make our decisions on, but we are relatively affordable in terms of cost per student credit hour. But we also have had a number of students that we had a brief peak of student enrollment. As you can see in the bottom graph, our goal is to really make sure that our retention is very high, and so bringing those bars together is one of the things that we've really been working hard to do, retention and focusing on retention and completion. And so
I would just like to highlight, so knowing that we have a strong amount of students that are coming in and it's staying very consistent, some of the things that have helped obviously are leveraging the partnerships that we've talked about. We have been very lucky to have great partnerships with the bachelor's program within our university. The other thing is the agencies that we work with. So we have a vast network of community health partnerships out in the community where our students are out really performing services and practicing their skills, doing their service learning. But in the same sense, it's reciprocal as we listen to what the needs of the community are, and we're striving to always meet those based off of how our students are prepared. We want to make sure that our students can be employed at any given time. So the partnership has been very important for us with that.
And sorry, one of the things that's really helped build this is we have an advisory board that includes both university sort of faculty and department chairs, and then also as many of our community agencies as we can. And we have every semester we have an advisory board meeting where we hear the feedback and share what's going on and try to accommodate their needs in that setting.
Yeah, and here's just another example. As we said, I'm really proud of all the pictures that are on here because they are all from our students. So these are our students that are doing some outreach events, putting together packets for distribution. You know, I mean, it's really highlighting that partnership. This wouldn't happen without having those community partners.
And then I think another really important thing that we've learned along the way is knowing our potential student population. You know, there are a number of trends in higher education. Obviously, first and foremost is meeting students where they are. That includes accommodating things like students who may be in other health professions, or at community colleges, there are often a lot of competitive admission health programs like nursing or radiology, and they don't accept a lot of students, but those students know they want to help people. So identifying them, connecting them to public health, we've really worked with our advisors to make sure that we're finding those students. We have a significant dual enrollment system in New Mexico, where even within our community college, about 20% of the students student credit hours come from dual credit students who are actually high school students as well. So we have made some strides in terms of navigating that and finding a place for those, because many of those high school students don't know anything about public health, and so connecting with them where they are there has been a really important part with campus constituents, advisors, other community college degree programs, and then really looking out into the workforce and finding promotoras in particular who might want to come back and start their education here, and really enabling that as much as possible with credit for the work that they've already done and the experiences they've had. So we've been trying to meet those student needs wherever they might come up and accommodate our programs and make sure that we're accessible to all of those different constituencies.
So this was our last slide, and we would just like to say that we are thrilled to be part of this presentation. We've obviously worked for years to be able to develop this program and make sure that we're meeting the needs of the student, but I know that both Becky and I feel really honored to be part of a national network and to be collaborating and hoping to build more programs out in the community. The demand is there. The passion from the students is there. Sometimes they just don't know exactly what field they want to go into, but I know we've all experienced it when you meet that student who finds what they want to do, and you just know they're going to be superstars out in the field. So that's the end of our part. There we go. Okay.
So we'll turn it back to Rita.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Thank you to all of our speakers. We now have 15 minutes to address your questions. Before I review the process to submit questions, I did want to remind people that today's session has been approved for 1 Certified in Public Health CPH recertification credit and/or 1 category continuing education contact hour for the Certified Health Education Specialist and Master's Health Education Specialist. SOPHE, including its chapters, is a designated multiple event provider of CECHs by the National Commission for Health Education Credentialing. And please refer to the registration information that you signed up for today's webinar for those instructions on obtaining credit. Now I'm going to turn to our question and answer period, and you can ask questions by simply typing your questions in the field on the right side of your screen. And I'm going to start off with some questions for our panelists. First, for Dick Riegelman. Dr. Riegelman, how do you see the development of community college public health education as part of the continuum of public health education over the next few years?
Well, I think the community college and public health initiatives has accomplished some critical initial efforts. I think with the help of the league, the community colleges, I think now appreciate the transfer opportunities in public health into public health. I think they appreciate the job opportunities in public health. And as you know, jobs and transferability are critical to development of a community college program. In addition, I think that with the help of ASPPH and SOPHE, the public health community now understands the critical nature, the critical elements that the community colleges offer in terms of diversifying the public health workforce in the future. Community colleges, as many of you know, are now majority minority, and I think that has really now sunk in public health, that if we're going to be serious about diversifying the public health workforce, it's critical that we work closely with the community colleges. So I think those two kind of intellectual accomplishments are going to bear fruit in the future, and in the next 3 to 5 years, I hope we'll see some real growth. And I think the good news is I think we now have some strategies for that growth. One, you can see there are community colleges out there that are actually doing, and the network that Kate Johnson has put together is a growing activity that really offers a diversity of different approaches, and the league has offered opportunities, ASPPH has opportunities, SOPHE's opportunities to to make quite visible of these programs, and we hope that will continue. In addition, for the large number of community colleges that programs in health, I think there's opportunities to use these Health Foundation courses as ways to educate people about community college, about what public health is, and about how to the role that it plays, and so that having courses in personal health, a population perspective, in the overview of public health and health communications as vehicles not only for transferring to public health and health professions, but also for educating a wide spectrum of community college students. So I think we're off to a good start. There's a lot more work to do, and I think that the collaboration that you've seen today will make a big difference in making that happen.
Thank you, Dick. Our next question, I believe, is directed to Kate. Where could people find the initiatives with the 22 partner colleges to learn which partners and what initiatives were implemented?
Okay, that's a really great question. We don't have a formal website link to direct you to at this time. Some of the generalized information is available on the League's website. They have a page for community colleges and public health and kind of emerging practices there. There's a community network link that you can click on. But the easiest way to find out, and I know this is rather scrappy as far as a way to do this, is to contact me directly and ask me what you want, and I can get it for you. We hope in the coming, you were asking about what's coming in the next few years, we hope to formalize access in an online, visible, web-based way, some of this information. But right now, a lot of that is housed in various places and isn't necessarily easily accessible. So I would just strongly encourage anyone who has specific questions to reach out to me because we do have program models that really span the gamut, from programs like Doña Ana, like we already heard about, to patient navigator degrees, to other innovative ways to be hardwiring to four-year degree programs. So please contact me and I'll get you what you want.
Thank you, Kate. And our next question is, directed to Laura Magana. Laura, could you please talk about some of the common challenges that we have in the continuum of education?
Sure. Thank you very much for the question. I think that what we are seeing, and it's through this panel, is that it's very exciting, all the continuum and all the paths or the new jobs or the new opportunities for people to get engaged in public health and start their educational path all the way from the community college up to the doctoral degree. But I think that now our challenge, and I'm talking about the academic community, is that there are some common themes that we would like to start our conversations and working together. For example, I think there's a space to talk about mapping competencies. What are the competencies that start with the first stage, with the community colleges, and all the way, how can we build those competencies in the bachelor's degree, and then in the master's, and then the doctoral degree? How about faculty development? I think we all face the challenge of training the new generation of faculty that are going to be doing like different things. So I think that if we are together talking about this and actually developing resources for them, it would be better. Creating learning scenarios. I think that's another area that we can that we all share, and we can easily share our ideas and expertise in that, as well as creating assessment tools for our faculty. So what I'm thinking is that there's a great opportunity to work together in all the continuum, and we're very much looking forward to this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Our next question is for Cynthia or possibly Kate. Could you please address some tips for people who are interested in offering an associate program, who they should reach out to for more information on how to start that type of program?
Well, I think, this is Cynthia. I think the references that Dick talked about in his section of the presentation about the Community Colleges and Public Health Project and the final report, there's quite a few resources, and those are on the League website, and they're available free. But Kate has been doing actually quite a lot of work, so I want to give her an opportunity to address this question as well. Kate?
Sure. I would just add one point that hasn't been raised, but that I think is kind of an obvious predicate of what we've heard so far, is that once you have grounding in some of these resources that Cynthia is referring to that are readily available on the League's website, it's important to see how they apply to your local context. So we were able to showcase one program model today, which is a fantastic example of how you can integrate degrees for transfer, certificate programs, and so on and so forth with Doña Ana. But that's certainly not the only model. And one of the things that we have learned very clearly over the past several years is that it really isn't a one-size-fits-all. It's about using these curricular models and then figuring out what the local strengths and local geography and local partners can bring to adapt it to your context. And so I would encourage you to bring local partners into this process as soon as possible. And who are those local partners? Well, depending on where you sit, they may vary a little bit, but key workforce partners, your city or county health department, get feedback for them about what they would like to see as far as future local public health employees, and how you can use that to kind of strengthen the particular emphasis areas you may or may not include into your program. And then also certainly the academic partners. And I would say whether or not you're looking at a certificate program or a degree for transfer, it can be very helpful to ask the question early on as to, what are the potential future workforce options and what are the potential future academic options for my students? Because as was already mentioned by some of the other panelists, what we really want is for the effort that these students put into their education to stay with them and pay off and be something that they can build on later. And so thinking about whatever program model you design, how it can later kind of map onto future opportunities is also really important. And so those are just some broad themes. Again, I welcome conversations offline as to what that might look like more specifically in your context, but those are some talking points.
Let me just add that one of the ways to get started is to get started, to offer an introductory course, and students will enroll and they'll become enthusiastic and they'll become advocates for your expansion. So I think it's important to see the students as part of engaging the students as a key part of the process.
Thank you all. Elaine, this next question is for you. You mentioned curriculum modules for health education available through Sophie. Can you share some information on how people can find those?
Sure, thank you. Well, the special issue that I referenced has the complete outline of those three curricular outlines within those, and if anyone does not have a subscription to be through their libraries to the journal, I'll be glad to send you that particular article that documents both the process and what the ultimate curricular outlines included. I also wanted to just add on to the previous response regarding how to get started. And several years ago, we initiated a survey within Sophie just to find out if individuals could serve as faculty or, as pointed out by Kate earlier, looking at who are your local stakeholders that you could bring to the table. And so we found through that survey there were a lot of Sophie members and other chapter practitioners around the country that were very interested in helping to become faculty or advisors to providing technical assistance to community colleges that were looking to get started. So I'd still offer that also to you, and maybe I can work with Kate to make a little bit more of that information available to you through the LinkedIn process.
Thank you, Elaine. Our next question, I think this will be our final question, is from an individual who writes and talks about advanced degrees that the person has in public health and now looking to develop a new skill specifically as a registered health information administrator credential that would be earned at this person's local community college. Could any of our speakers address teaching and involvement that extends beyond the younger student to accommodate older students? And how maybe community colleges address the needs of diverse students?
This is Amy and Becky. We can certainly give that question a shot. I would say, as a general, actually, our students range in age. So we don't. So I would say that's a typical student within a community college, at least from what we've been used to. And one thing that maybe we didn't highlight quite as well is that we absolutely have seen more students coming back to get the community health worker certificate or that additional type of training, even though they're out in the field already working within their professions, realizing that they could earn additional training. And that's one of the reasons why going back to a community college can be helpful. One, because you can use your past credit. The experience can count as the credits, but the other thing also is the option for online if it doesn't fit specifically within, say, that traditional schedule. And I'll turn it over to Becky.
And I do think that even within students who are with students that are here in person taking courses, I think community colleges do really make a significant effort to accommodate different schedules. You know, we have evening courses and Saturday courses generally. So I think combined with online courses and other types of hybrid learning that we emphasize, I think community colleges, this has been something that we think really thoughtfully about and work to sort of make sure that we're always including, I would say, quote, non-traditional, although perhaps traditional in our setting, students in the calculation of whose needs are we serving. And I think that at community colleges, really that's the student that's been driving our decision-making process. And so we try to incorporate that into how we offer courses and where and when. So I hope that the person could find that type of situation. There are a lot of library science programs or in health information programs that might be online and available to someone like that. So I think those are places to look.
I think Amy, this is Cynthia. I think Amy and Becky answered that really well, and I would say that what they're saying about what's available at Doña Ana is true for most community colleges across the country. So it isn't uncommon for someone who has a bachelor's or an advanced degree to go back to a community college to get a certification of some sort. So please pursue that if that's your interest.
Absolutely. All right, thank you to all of our speakers. Just as a reminder, this webinar was recorded and will be made available on the ASPPH website under the event page in the archived webinars section within the next week. Thank you. This webinar is now adjourned.